Spent my first moments of 2016 at a neon house party with childhood friends. Clearing out underneath my stairs, I came across some old school gems. Did some traditional activism, handing out flyers to fellow commuters on my first week back to work. Completed Fallout 4 after 135 hours of pleasurable gaming. Found myself often working late at work and still not being able to get everything done. I started questioning whether or not I was in the right place, and if not, where is? Continued to follow and support the Bernie Sanders campaign daily as his momentum grew and grew and grew. Was approached by Digital Henley to give a keynote speech about online community, my first main talk since the head injury a couple of years ago. It felt great to be doing this sort of thing again. Anxiety was still a big part of my life, creating waves of severe depression. And so my main focus day by day was going with the flow and trying to keep my head above the water. Decided to share words of solidarity with Bernie Sanders supporters in the US, and the response I got was quite incredible. Was brought to tears by one of the most moving videos this year called It's Not Over by Erica Garner. Glad to see the notion of a resource-based economy being discussed in the mainstream more and more. Pleasantly surprised by Apple's warning about the US government's mass surveillance operations. Had a quiet but lovely 29th birthday with my parents. Reunited with an amazing friend I hadn't seen in years. Was a guest host on Bernie Sanders TV during the Nevada caucus. Life is all about taking risks, right? I just didn't think that putting keys in my pocket would be one of them. Received news that after 2 years, my time at The Guardian would be coming to an end. Although hugely saddened by this, I didn't feel bitter. When my managers first broke the news to me, they asked if I had any questions, and I responded in quite a Myles-esque sort of way. Are you both okay? I appreciate that this is probably the hardest part of your jobs. They of course laughed and we hugged, and it was very emotional for the remainder of my time. Several senior colleagues gave me some excellent advice. Use this moment as an opportunity to seriously think about what you want to do in life, and go for it. Marched on Parliament Square with Americans abroad in support of Bernie Sanders. Was approached by a counter-terrorism organisation to help them develop a video strategy for combating radicalisation. I wish I could say more. Sorry. Absolutely loved 10 Cloverfield Lane, although it just fell short of a masterpiece in my opinion, due to the lame ending. Had a visit from my wonderful American friend Denise. Witnessed Bernie Sanders get an endorsement from Mother Nature. Either that or he's a Disney princess. Blown away by actor Wentworth Miller's incredible response to a cruel internet meme that he was the subject of. My last day at The Guardian was a sad one. I was not only saying goodbye to colleagues, but people I regarded as family as well. Created a detailed 20-minute video on why Bernie Sanders had a path to victory, and it blew up on Facebook. It made me think that perhaps I could return as a regular video blogger once more. Watched the live stream of Bernie Sanders' New York rally with amazement. I was shocked to see Robert Reich share my Bernie Sanders video with his supporters, and it had the most amazing comment. Developed a mega intellectual crush for progressive journalist Naomi Konst after seeing her slay Hillary Clinton surrogates on the corporate media. Enjoyed the dystopian world of Tom Clancy's The Division. With my mental health taking another major hit, I decided to move back in with my parents. We went on plenty of walks together, helping me reflect on my direction in life. I received a huge wave of new American viewers since my previous video, with many asking how they could donate to support me. I kindly declined though, as I had no formal setup for this, but it did inspire me to look at Patreon. I took a deep breath and followed my heart. I announced to friends, family and supporters my plan of returning to video blogging for the first time in years and launching a Patreon account to fund a long-term strategy. It was so nerve-wracking though. I felt exposed and vulnerable. What if this failed? Met with an old friend who showed me some quirky new hologram mobile technology he'd been working on. Took my brother's dog Theo for weekly walks. Sometimes he was lovely and other times not so much. Photo shoot with my band Schemata Theory. Began posting weekly videos whilst also looking for work as a freelance video consultant. My band's upcoming single was featured on BBC Berkshire.
If you want to make an impression when you upload a song onto the BBC Introducing Uploader, this is how you do it, by the way.
Went to the job centre for the first time in my life. Cross that off the bucket list, hey? And because of my ambition to become self-employed, they put me on this amazing scheme called the NEA, where I got 8 weeks of mentoring to develop my own business plan. I can't recommend it enough. Gave Snapchat another go for the 5th time ever, this time posting daily story vlogs. Received some incredibly kind and supportive words from my friend James O'Brien after discussing renewable energy on his radio show.
If you want to check out some of the activism and work that Myles does, just Google his name, Myles Dyer with 2 Y's, Myles with a Y, Dyer with a Y. Very impressive, very informed young man. Restores my faith in the youth of Britain on a regular basis.
Nostalgia overload with the new Doom game. Celebrated my 10-year YouTube anniversary with, surprise surprise, a video blog looking back. Uncharted 4, need I say more? During the EU referendum campaign, I wasn't so much sitting on the fence, more like jumping over it again and again. And ultimately, destruction is another form of creation, and I didn't trust those in power to help rebuild what comes next. And so, I voted Remain. Launched my band's new EP, Networks. Although the post-Brexit result anger was very disheartening to see, I found myself able to build common ground between those who voted Leave and those who voted Remain. I began cognitive behavioural therapy, enjoyed a bubbles and puddings evening with my friend Fawn after braving the Bristol summery weather. Surreal to see the Chilcot report finally published. Pledged allegiance to Team Mystic. Was invited to the House of Lords by Rights Watch to attend their review of Prevent. Felt physically sick seeing Bernie Sanders endorse Hillary Clinton, despite knowing there was a good reason for him doing it. Amused by all the people complaining how lame Pokemon Go supposedly is. Had my business plan approved by the NEA, meaning I could officially launch my new business. Emergency haircut due to the amazingly hot weather. Went on beautiful evening walks by a local lake I hadn't visited since my childhood. Felt motivated as I researched and scripted so many upcoming videos. Donald Trump becoming GOP nominee for president, although expected, worried me because establishment Democrats seem complacent with their unquestionable love for Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. Spent a weekend at my friend's epic house party. Great to see a politician generating so much enthusiasm this side of the Atlantic around progressive values, but hand on heart, he's no Bernie Sanders. Received a message from a talented activist and musician named Leah Rose who wanted to connect. We've since become really good friends, and she's been a really great supporter of my work, even helping me with script writing in the early hours of the morning when I'm losing my mind. I'm so glad she reached out. Addicted to walking, you can't beat nature. CBT was teaching me so many amazing things like unhelpful thinking habits and the worry tree. Although not invited to Summer in the City 2016, I was to their after party where I connected with so many old YouTube friends. It changed my world of anxiety into one of hope and passion. Explored the universe of No Man's Sky. Found myself longing for the day of feeling fixed. Level 30, still suffering a monthly net loss of YouTube subscribers, but determined to hang in there. Played a hometown show. I'll never forget the moment I had to ask the entire crowd to move forward so more people could get in at the back. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. A damning report showed our intervention in Libya allowed for the rise of ISIS. Will our governments ever learn? Finally got round to completing The Last of Us. Wow, what a game. Attended YouTube Summit for Social Change. I was surrounded by so many like-minded, inspiring people from all over the world. It felt like home. Despite the Labour Party's many attempts to oust their leader, Jeremy Corbyn went on to win his second leadership contest with a bigger percentage of the vote than last time. Extraordinary times. Impressed yet again by another Elon Musk livestream, this time on SpaceX about making humans multiplanetary species. Sitting in my car after leaving my final CBT session, I felt incredibly emotional because it finally dawned on me how much I was going to miss the therapist who had changed my life. Visited the Natural History Museum with my American friend Anna before teaming up with Liam and Tom for some Pokemon hunting. Spoke at Thinking Digital Manchester about my 10 years on YouTube and what the future holds, alongside people from Google, Twitter and the BBC. Made some big lifestyle changes that significantly improved my sleep. Happy to see my brother start his own YouTube channel. Became friends with some brilliant inventors, Clara and Adrian, who I met at Thinking Digital. I found myself one day totally consumed with anxiety, the worst I've ever experienced, and a panic attack. And so I abandoned all my plans. And I even got to a point where I was contemplating methods of suicide, which I knew was ridiculous at the time, but it was all just so overwhelming. I managed to keep these thoughts at arm's length away from me though, thanks to the CBT skills I had picked up. But the fact I was even in this place troubled me. I fortunately had the amazing love and support of my family though, who I moved back in with for the 3rd time this year, and I can't thank my parents enough for that. Received an amazing gift box from my patron Lisa, which really cheered me up. Contained really quirky items like this, and this, and this. Watched The Square and made the first episode of Doc Watch with my good friend Pete. Deleted Twitter off my phone and disabled all Facebook push notifications. Probably one of the best decisions I've made all year. After all this time, I finally got some answers as to what the physical damage was to me after my head injury. It was part of my middle ear on my left side. It was such a relief to get an explanation as to what causes my dizziness, headaches, and my struggles with concentration. Hopefully the physiotherapy I've now been given will help with this. A net gain of subscribers. I'm so glad I stuck at it. Highlighted 5 reasons why I thought Trump was going to win the 2016 US presidential election. Developed a great relationship with my ever-growing community of patrons who have humbled me with their support, $1 at a time. Thank you so much. Had a brilliant meeting with BritDoc about potential ways of working together in the new year. Was asked by them the following week if I wanted to attend their event Good Pitch in New York City. Hell yeah. Such an inspiring few days where I met many great human beings. Online friends, activists, journalists, and politicians. Heard Bernie Sanders was in New York City, so I made an attempt to meet him. And after the most remarkable chain of events, I did. Had an amazing conversation with Jane Sanders too. Showed solidarity with a Standing Rock protest where BuzzFeed asked why someone from London, England was interested in such a cause. Attended a special show by UK metal band Architects following the passing of their guitarist Tom. Living back at home again, I felt so much more content and in control with my life. Appalled to see my own government pass the most extreme surveillance legislation in the history of Western democracy. Was a guest on Total Rock Radio for the first time in years. Thanks, Matt. Received loads of amazing shirts from my friend at All Right. Thank you, which included this one. Standing Rock proved the true power of non-violent resistance in North Dakota. So inspiring, even though the battle is far from over. Arrival. I can't remember a movie that has left me feeling more blown away, with such powerful nuances tailored into its message. Glad to see that one US politician is making an effort to find common ground with those who voted differently. Rogue One. The first third bugged me, but the final third was absolutely incredible. Loved it overall. Spent Christmas at my parents' with my brother and his fiancée. Oh, and little Theo, of course. Played some VR, and I received so many great gifts. Some that were practical, ones that made me smile, and ones that fell into both categories. What a year. And now I've got to reflect on it all. It has been a huge battle with myself. And there were some struggles that I didn't touch upon because it was constant throughout the year. And they relate to my depression. I've been trying to take off these shackles of my past with my injury, the fact it exacerbated certain characteristics of me. December, this will be the first month that I have kicked an addiction in a very long time, which has had knock-on effects to my financial situation where I've been going in debt so much and my family has been there every step of the way supporting me. And that has obviously caused issues for my depression and my feeling of self-worth. And it's weird because you never think it's going to happen to you. It was the case with the head injury, which I laughed off when the doctor said, you'll probably have concussion for a couple of weeks. And, 2-3 years later, here we are still. And it was only when doing cognitive behavioural therapy and learning these tools and looking back, I realised how far I had come, and I was only going to get further if I acknowledged the things that were wrong with me. Not to say I'm inherently flawed, but to know if I identified the problems, I could move forward. And I kept falling back on many occasions. I had many arguments with my family who were concerned for me. They wanted me to be in a better place, but they stuck with me. I want to thank my friends, my family, and all my viewers out there who have shown so much love and support for me throughout this incredibly difficult time, because without you, much of this would not have been possible. So to end on a few key points. Despite what many people say, I don't believe it's an age of post-truth that we live in, but instead one of anti-nuance, which in many ways is far more dangerous. It is intellectually dishonest when people focus on an abusive minority in public discourse as a means to define a wider group, And that is something we have to try so much harder in the new year to combat. Continue to vent anger and frustration at those that don't think the same way as you do, and societal divisions will only worsen. There were many doors I opened this year where behind it was a big monster named anxiety. And what I realised is that closing the door again is only half the battle. Life is generally good, but when it's not, it's just progress in process. Yes, there are a lot of struggles that we have to come out of. Yes, there are going to be some huge challenges waiting for us over the horizon. But together, if we organise and use technology to liberate the individuals around the world who are geographically isolated with common goals in mind, there is nothing we can't achieve. And so on that note, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And as always, adios till next time. Love you all.